That was a long gospel. 41 verses, an entire chapter from the Gospel according to John. Last week's gospel was also long, 37 verses. Next week's is even longer, 45 verses. John takes so long to tell us these stories because he's trying to invite us into an experience of Jesus. And you can't rush that. Experiencing Jesus takes the time it takes. As Jesus walks through Jerusalem with his disciples, he sees a man who was born blind. The first question out of the disciples' mouths might sound uncomfortably familiar. Perhaps the same thing people in our time ask when we see a person with a disability. What went wrong? Who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Sin in John's gospel means to be separated from God. Not that you did something wrong, but that you are out of relationship with God. Jesus replies, and I'm using a more direct translation here, neither he nor his parents. This happened so that God's mighty works might be displayed in him. Nobody in this family is out of relationship with God. Indeed, this man was born for closeness with God. The man who was born blind hears Jesus' voice first of all. He can't see Jesus, but he hears Jesus and knows his voice. Jesus spits on the ground, makes mud, and spreads it on the man's eyes, telling him to go and wash in the pool of Siloam. The man does, and he's able to see. Not only is his sight restored, this man's culture had little place for people with disabilities, except begging at the side of the road. The only way for this man to participate fully in society in that place and time is for his blindness to be cured. Now the man who received his sight can work and support himself. He can have a home, maybe marriage and children. He has an identity as a real person instead of a charity case. Instead of the limited life his society offered him before, a full, abundant life is available to him. In his time, it was unheard of for a blind person to recover their sight. So, of course, everyone wants to know what happened. And as first the neighbors, then the Pharisees question him, the man reflects on who Jesus is and what Jesus did for him. The man who received his sight gradually comes to know Jesus as a man, then as a prophet, then as the Son of Man, the Messiah. And the man believes in Jesus, puts his trust in Jesus, gives his loyalty to Jesus, and worships him. This very long story goes on. I could have added another 21 verses to get to the end, but I decided not to do that. Jesus goes on to say, I am the gate for the sheep. Whoever enters by me will be saved and will come in and go out and find pasture. Sheep don't listen to thieves and bandits who come in to steal and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. And Jesus goes on, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep and my sheep know me. I must bring my other sheep. They will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. As the man who received his sight hears Jesus say these things, he comes to know Jesus still more deeply. Jesus, the man, the prophet, the Son of Man, is the gate. He is the good shepherd. The man who received his sight must be one of the sheep. He listened to Jesus' voice before he could see. Jesus went out to find him when he was lost. He has received the abundant life that Jesus came to bring. So the man who received his sight joins the flock. Through Jesus, he has the closeness with God that he was born to have. The healing stories in the Bible can be hard to hear when we're longing for a miracle. Last Sunday, I was leading children's church. We were looking at a painting of Jesus, and one of our younger children said, "He died on a cross for us." I said, "That's right. And 3 days later, God made him alive again." We don't ever leave Jesus in the tomb, especially with young children. We all need to hear that Jesus' story continues to resurrection. This was news to one of our kids. He said, "God brought him back to life?" This child has definitely heard the Easter story more than once, but it must have slipped his mind. And then he asked, "Why doesn't God always bring dead people back?" I did not have a great answer for him. I said, "God has done that only a couple of times ever." Last week was not the time to go into this, but what I'd like to say to our kids is that being cured in our bodies is only one way that God can work miracles. Not every person with a disability wants to be cured. Some do, but others find that their disability is a part of who they are, and they like who they are. They are not broken, and they don't need God to fix them. They and all of us might long for other kinds of healing. Healing for loneliness, or strained relationships, or addiction, or patterns of wrongdoing that we can't seem to resist. God offers us all these forms of healing through Jesus. That's what abundant life is: healing, wholeness, peace, harmony. Even when we don't get a cure, healing is always possible, always. For the Good Shepherd came that we may have life and have it abundantly. We can see that abundant life here at St. John's. The last year has been exceptionally difficult for this country. The intentional cruelty of the current administration, the lawlessness and violence, the open corruption, the chaos, the staggering incompetence. Many times in this past year, I have been longing for God to swoop in and cure this illness in our body politic. Maybe you have too. We haven't had that kind of miracle. Yet we've had other kinds of miracles, especially here in this parish, other ways that God has healed and renewed us. Instead of wringing our hands and doing nothing when we pass an unhoused person on the street, we started making blessing bags with some food and water and toiletries and the message that we see you and you matter to us and to God. Our exploration of Ignatian spirituality has led to deeper prayer lives, more time spent with our good and loving God, more noticing the ways that God is already at work within us. Our children's ministry has grown so much in the last year that we're now offering children's church at both services, plus 2 rooms of Sunday school most weeks. We've begun to develop additional revenue streams to help us maintain our historic buildings. We took the big risk of applying for a matching grant from the National Fund for Sacred Places. This grant is very competitive. We don't know that we'll receive it. But we tried. We've never done that before. And despite all the powerful forces in politics, media, and technology trying to set people against each other, we at St. John's have remained faithful to our founding ethos of a community pulling together for the common good. The Good Shepherd has led us to abundant life. None of us can predict for sure what the next year will bring. We can foresee a few things ahead of us. As our finance team shared in the annual meeting this morning, St. John's is looking at a capital campaign in the next 12 to 18 months. That'll be hard work and also an exciting time to share with each other what we love about St. John's and what we hope for it, to dream with God about the future of this community. We'll continue our engagement with Ignatian spirituality and its practices of listening and noticing and discerning. And on November 8th, Bishop Kristen Uffelman-White will visit St. John's to spend the day with us. I'm sure we'll have confirmations and a festive coffee hour. You all know that means cake. Whatever else is coming, foreseen and unforeseen, we will fear no evil, for God is with us. The Good Shepherd's rod and staff, they comfort us. It turns out that we can sum up that very long story from John's Gospel in only 6 words. The Good Shepherd finds the sheep. He found the man born blind and brought him into the flock. When we are confused, afraid, without direction, without hope, Jesus is finding us, calling our names. We know his voice and we follow him. And the Good Shepherd always leads us to abundant life. We stand to affirm our faith using the